At last, with the bright trumpet blast, at once they all shoot from their starting places. Shouts of sailors beat against the skies, the waters are turned to foam beneath the stroking arms. They cleave the furrows with their equal thrusts. The whole sea gapes, torn by the oars, the ship's three-pointed beaks. Not even chariots, when with their racing teams they seize the field and rush out of their starting stalls, were so swift, so headlong. Not even charioteers can shake their waving reins above their breakneck horses and bend to beat and lash with so much power. Then the cheers and the applause, the cries and eager calls of followers fill all the woods. The hemmed-in beach rolls on the echo, and struck hills give back that roar. Among that clamor and confusion, Gyas flies on before the others, gliding first across the waves. Cloanthus follows close. His crew is better, but his bulky ship has slowed him with its weight. At equal distance behind these two, the shark and centaur strive to take first place. The shark is now ahead, and now the giant centaur makes its way. Now both ride on together, prows abreast, cleaving the salt waves with their lengthy keels. And all were drawing near the midpoint rock when Gyas, who has led through half the course, shouts as a victor to his galley's pilot, Menœtes. "Why so hard to starboard? Turn, hold close the boulder. Let the oar blades scrape along the shoals upon our left. Let others keep to the deeper waters." He said this, but fearing hidden reefs, Menœtes twists his prow seaward. "Why so off course? Make for the rocks, Menœtes." Once again he shouts to call his pilot back. Then looking round, he sees Cloanthus driving right behind him and on the nearer course. Between the galley of Gyas and the roaring reefs, Cloanthus now shaves the left-hand channel, quickly takes the lead, and, past the mark, already gains safe waters. Then indeed great anger burned deep in young Gyas's bones. His cheeks were not without their tears. And now, forgetting his own dignity and, too, his comrade's safety, he hurls the slow Menœtes headlong from the high stern down into the sea, and strides, himself both helmsman and commander, toward the tiller. He spurs on his oarmen, turns the rudder toward the shore. But when at last Menœtes, heavy, rose up from the sea, struggling and old and dripping with drenched clothes, he clambered up the reef, and at the top he squatted on dry stones. The Teucrians laughed as he fell, then as he swam, they laugh as he spits out salt water from his chest. As Gyas slowed, the pair behind, Sergestus and Menœtius, took new heart. They hoped to catch him. Sergestus is the first to gain the channel beside the rock, but not enough to take a boat-length lead, only a part. The shark, his rival, overlaps him with her prow. But Menœtius, pacing midship, spurs his sailors. Now rise to your oars, comrades of Hector, the ranks I chose in Troy's last agony. Now, put forth the powers. Now the heart you showed in the Gaetulian quicksands, in the Ionian Sea, in Malia's pursuing waves. I, Menœtius, do not seek the first prize any more, or try to conquer. Neptune, let those whom you so choose be victors. And yet it would be shameful to be last. My countrymen, at least shun that disgrace. They thrust upon their oars, they give their all. The brazen galley quakes with hefty strokes, the seabed is drawn out from under them. Their hurried panting shakes their limbs and parched throats. Sweat is streaming everywhere. But chance itself brings them the longed-for victory. For while Sergestus, wild in spirit, drove his prow beside the shoals upon the inside, a gap too strait and dangerous, luckless, he struck against the jutting reefs. The rocks were jarred. The oars, jammed up against the sharp and jagged edges, snapped. The crashing hull hung fast. The crewmen shout aloud, leap up as one at this delay. With iron-plated boat-hooks and pointed poles they gather in their shattered oars out of the sea. And Mnestheus, still keener now, and glad with his success, with rapid strokes and calling on the winds, makes for the sloping shoreward waters, glide straight down the open sea. Just as a dove, who has her home and nestlings in a secret cliffside, when she is startled from her cavern, flies toward the fields. For, frightened in her den, she loudly flaps her wings, but soon she glides upon the quiet air, and skims her liquid path, does not move her rapid pinions. Even so Mnestheus, so the shark, self-driven, cuts the final stretch of water in her flight. Her first impulse enough to drive her on, now Mnestheus leaves behind the floundering Sergestus on the steep reef in the shallows as he calls out in vain for help and learns to race with broken oars. Then Mnestheus passes Gyas, who rides the giant-hulked Chimera, and having lost her helmsman, she gives away.